Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch Harlan, and welcome to the Truth Talks podcast. Man, do I have a show for you today. This guy's full of energy. His name is Mark Jennison. Mark, how are you?
Man, I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me here, man. I'm ready to get into this thing, and let's just fucking go.
Well, all I know is I've watched a whole bunch of your material. You're not shy guy. You tend to like to talk, and that makes it perfect for a show like this. Here's the thing, bro. You own a company called IAMACOMEBACK, and it's a lot about addiction. I love running addiction stories because we all love the Rocky movie. He comes back in the end, right? It's just powerful. It's digging deep. It's finding something that you may not even knew you had in you. Your story, though, when I ran across it, I was like, this is a guy I need to get on the show because your story is incredibly powerful. I've asked you if you would tell the story, and you've agreed. Let's get into your story.
Awesome, man. So listen, first off, today is, I don't count days, I don't count times, I don't count numbers, anything like that. Today, though, if you were counting, was 6 years since the day that I set out on this journey to take control of my life back over alcohol, over drugs, over cheating, over just being a piece of shit. My life wasn't working, and I had to figure it out. So the fact that I get here today and I get to spend the next hour or so with you to actually dive into that and share this with somebody, my hope and desire is that it actually hits somebody at the core today and they can make the same choice on my day, the IAMACOMEBACK birthday. So, man, I'm just going to jump into it. We'll just start right there at 6 years ago. All the way up until that point, my life had been in shambles. 21 years of drugs, alcohol, multi-million-dollar companies, $3,000 a day, cocaine, alcohol, stripper, like lifestyle, always having an entourage, like everything about me. If you've seen The Wolf of Wall Street, that was the life that I lived, straight up. I didn't make as much money as him, but I probably could party harder than him because at my core, that's what I was about. Like I was authentic with that shit. And I was really, really good at it. However, where this thing came from was pain, despair, struggle, not knowing who I was, not knowing what I wanted, the ability to touch everything and turn it into gold, right? Every business thing that I did, I had this build and burn mentality, build and burn, build and burn. And man, like you said, everybody loves a comeback story. But what really happened to me is why I'm here today was my son was taken from me, right? So you mentioned here on the beginning of this talk, if you could get a little tear from me, probably not going to cry, but I can tell you what, if you watch the documentary that I put, there is a time in there when literally I teared up because my son was taken. He is the spawn. He is the spark of the IAMACOMEBACK movement. So you back it up 6 years ago, I was a piece of shit. I did a 21 or 28 day stint inside of rehab. I went in, I blew a .367. I failed everything on the drug test except for marijuana. Went in there and lied myself through it, lied my way through it, came out and relapsed in 6 hours. Okay, 6 hours. That was my 7th major relapse of my life. And what I mean by major was divorce, 2 multi-million-dollar businesses, losing my son, death of someone I loved, right? Something that I could actually have a quantifiable result to what happened to it. I had thousands and thousands and thousands of micro relapses, if you will, but that one was it for me. That was the final relapse. So I got out, I relapsed, and I lost that kid, right? My choices, my decision, my actions put me right there on, that was actually July 3rd of 2015. As I got out of rehab and the world opened up for me and it was clean and clear. And next thing you know, fucking gone. Everything by my choice. Okay, my decision. Fast forward to how I got to start the comeback, man. Went down to Florida. This is a very, very powerful line, which I'm going to state it. I actually have a picture over here on the wall. I went on the worst 9-day bender after that, after losing my son, right? 9 days of trying to kill myself. I didn't have the balls to just blow my brains out, right? I wanted to die. I tried to drink myself away. I tried to put myself further into the pit. I was depressed. I was guilty. I felt like a loser, all the stuff that goes alongside it. But what I continued to do was just drink and sedate and drug and drink and lie and all that stuff, right? So you fast forward 9 days into that July, my brother comes to me and he goes, he didn't have much money at the time. He goes, get out of here. Just get the fuck out of here. We don't love you anymore. Like, as a matter of fact, we hate you. Just go. And here's $200 or whatever. He bought the plane ticket because he wouldn't give me money. I probably would have bought some dope. Here you go. Get out of here. Go by your mom down in Florida. So I go down to Florida, right? Remember, I hadn't seen my son already. Like, I hadn't seen him. I was being a piece of shit before I went into rehab, so it's not like things got better. I got out and relapsed. I go down to Florida. I'm not being able to talk to him. I don't have a cell phone. I got nothing. Bottom of the barrel, right? Remember, I've been a multi-millionaire, done these crazy, cool things in my life. My life was not working. I was on the worst 9-day bender of my life. I flew down to Florida, Hadn't showered in 9 days, disgusting, rocking back and forth, withdrawing, get off the plane, drink instantly when I get down there. Long story short, when I'm in that time in Florida, what happens is this. I finally connect with my son's mother. Okay. I'm finally able to get a hold of her. But the connection that I talk about, even though we see eye to eye somewhat now, but it took us 6 years to get here. We did not see eye to eye. So the conversations were much like this. Fuck you. You're a loser. Why don't you go kill yourself? I hope you die. The world's better off without you. As a matter of fact, why don't you write the rights off to your son? So as I'm coming off this relapse, my world, which I thought was getting better and looking at all these things and still having the pride and the ego that I had because I thought I was successful before, as I'm sitting in the face of pain, I start thinking, you know what? She's right. She is right. My son is better off without me. So what am I going to do then? At this point, I'm contemplating, you know what? I'm going to write the rights off. I'm going to write them off, but I still need to work. I need to get a job. I need some money. Why? Well, I needed to drink. I needed to drug. I needed to do something, right? So here I am in Florida, deciding that I'm going to clear up my life by letting go of everything and start new. And I was going to apply for a job as a valet parker at a bar, right? I'd made $75 million from the time I was 27 to 35 or 33 years old, 33, 34 years old. Okay. 75 million gross top line revenue. I built another multi-million-dollar business after that. And I'm looking at my life after all the accomplishments and all the achievements. I have much more than just the money, but I tie that too because that's a big number for people to understand. And I'm going to be a fucking valet parker, right? Because all I want to do is drink, forget, and numb myself out. So I go and I apply for this job. Sit down next to the guy. He gives me a beer. He says, yeah, we can give you a shot. So I grab the beer. I'm like, okay, cool. We'll start whatever next week or whatever. I'm not even ready to start that day. It's at a bar on the ocean. I go out to the beach. I sit down. I'm drinking the beer. I'm looking out at the sky. It's pink. It's blue. It's right on the Gulf of Mexico. It's a place called Doc's Beach House in Bonita Springs, Florida. I'm sitting right there watching. I can feel the wind. I'm drinking the beer and I sit down and I hear a voice. And it said, are you ready to listen to me now? And I'm like, fuck, dude. Nah, I'm pretty crazy, right? Like just so you know, I'm a little bit psychotic. I did smoke meth for many, many years, heroin, cocaine, copious amounts of cocaine. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on here? Somebody talking to me? Am I talking to myself now? Because I audibly answered that. Like I literally audibly answered that. And I said, yeah, I am. Like that. And I didn't really know what I did at that moment. But what happened is I stood up. My mom actually worked at that particular bar. And I went in and I said, hey, I got to go home. I got to figure this fucking thing out. So I hadn't written off the rights to my son. I stopped calling his mother. And I said, I'm going home to take my life back. I had no money. My mom gives me money, right? She has no money either. She's a freaking bartender at this bar. She gets me a couple $100, gets me back on a plane. Her friend drives me to the airport. She gives me $50 to be able to get home. I drank the $50 at the bar before I even got on the plane, right? Drank it all up. Flew home. Anyways, long story short, I begged for my job back at this car dealership that I was working at. And they gave me the job back. I went in, I literally drank a handle of vodka before I went in. I put on the biggest display of lies and just whatever I could do just for an opportunity. They gave me an opportunity. They said, you'll start Monday, but you know what? If you're so good at what you do, right? So this was my comeback job. It was my comeback job before I started the comeback, right? I had lost all my businesses. I went on and became a sleazy used car salesman. Not that if you're a used car salesman, that's a good, I'm not talking shit. But that's where I was at. And they said, we hate you. We don't want you to be here, but if you're so good, prove it to us that you're good. You get zero help from us, right? No CRM, can't take lot ups, blah, blah, blah. But you got to work bell to bell, right? So I had to be there every single day, and you've got to figure out how to get into some sort of program. I said, done. Just give me an opportunity. I don't care, whatever. So today, 6 years ago, July 27th of 2015, I walked through those double doors, shaking like a dog shit in peach seeds, literally like withdrawn, had been drink. I stayed drunk all the way up till like 5, 6 o'clock the night before with all intentions of blowing off work, but somehow I made it there. I went through like the first 4 days of being at the dealership and didn't really do anything, man. I thought that I could not operate without drugs or alcohol because I've been doing it for so long. And, I don't know if you've ever had any issues like this, but you can't operate when your body's getting rid of the poisons and your mind's all fucked up and the pressure. And remember, I was still dealing with like millions of dollars of debt hanging over my head from the other companies. So like everything was just compounded on me. But here's what happened. I don't want to spend a ton of time on the story. We can talk about other things. I went on to end up selling 90 cars in 90 days without the help of the dealership, without any lot ups. I got myself, I did go to AA. I did go to Celebrate Recovery. I tried them both. I did commit to doing that stuff. But I walked into those places and I did not fit in. It just did not make sense to me. Not because the programs are wrong, not because they're bad. See, I don't care how it gets done. I just care that it gets done. It's a very different. You'll never see me go on to somebody who loves AA's page and tell them that my way is better. But if you go check out my page and my ads, you'll have people telling me you need to give it all to God, but also then they're going to fucking kill me. Right. It's a weird,
I've seen that.
It's a weird thing. Yeah. If you look at the ads.
Yeah.
Anyways. So I went and I tried those things, and AA just wasn't for me. I just didn't feel right. They weren't my people. I couldn't connect with them. Not that I'm better than them. I just couldn't connect. Where I was at just didn't work. Went to Celebrate Recovery, great group, great friends of mine still to this day, but it was too soft for me. I lived a gnarly life, right? And I was successful. And it didn't make sense to me to walk into any of those places and say that I'm powerless, right? I could not buy into that. Like if you're sitting here having any energy from me, you can tell I'm not a powerless dude, right? I'm a powerful presence. It's who I am. I've always been this way. I had some alcohol on it. I was fucking probably 10 times more powerful, right? Just make bad choices. Anyways, what happened was none of those were working, not because they were wrong, but because it wasn't for me. So I needed to come up with a framework that worked for me. So what happened was I went to work every day on my self-development, right? And I looked at these things. My program, I'm a Comeback, is based off what we call the Comeback 7. Faith, finances, family, fitness, future, freedom, and foundation. I'll say that again in case somebody's listening. Faith, finances, family, fitness, future, freedom, and foundation. The first step was for me to believe in myself. Not to say that I need to give it to God and just hope that things go away. I need to take action. I don't believe God works in parked cars, right? Just my opinion. So for me to go and say, please take this away, and the higher power is just it's gonna be okay. It just didn't work, right? I couldn't believe that I was unmanageable, and then even though my life was a fucking mess, I just couldn't believe it. So I needed to look at what faith was, and if you Google it right now, it even says, right, believing in something you cannot see. So to me, that made a bunch of sense. I needed to believe in myself for the first time, less the alcohol, less the drugs, right? Less the lies, less the stories. So I went to work on myself every day, building my self-confidence. It was already pretty confident, right? But it needed to be like revived. It needed to be stronger. It needed to be real. My self-awareness, my self-discipline. I went to work on myself, believing that no matter what, nobody was coming to save me. The world was literally mine for the taking, or was going to beat the fuck out of me. And it's time to go to work right now. That was my first step. The second one was finances. I needed to commit to be the hardest worker in the room, not to steal like The Rock's phrase, right? I know he says that all the time, but I needed to be in that dealership that I was coming back at. When everyone else was working and going out on Saturdays and Sundays, I was prospecting. I was making videos. I was fucking tripling down, quadrupling down, working harder than everybody else because I needed it to take care of the third most important piece, which was my son. Even though I hadn't seen him for the first 5 months of my personal comeback. I went 5 months without seeing him. Every single time that I went to go and pick him up, right? And my ex-wife wouldn't allow me to have him because she was running from me because she was doing the best thing she thought probably for him at the time, honestly. But every time she wouldn't be there, I'd call the cops. I'd say, hey, she's not here. Eventually got to the point where they would just make a report. But I knew, right? And this is the point where you probably saw me cry. I would stare at these pictures of him, feeling guilty for myself, like feeling shitty about myself, but ultimately being able to put it on him, right? Not the guilt, but that he is more important. He deserves a better dad. And maybe someone out there has a kid the same way, or someone they love. Maybe it's not just their kid, their wife. They deserve more. Every time, do I call you Dr. Mitch or Mitch? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Whatever you feel.
I like Mitch. So
there you go.
Every time, Mitch, that I would think about picking up a drink, I would go in my mind and say, you know what? I'm basically flipping him the bird, saying, fuck you, son. Alcohol is more important. So drugs are more important. So I never did it. So I would stare at these videos. I was committed to working as hard as I could, or these pictures of him, some of the little videos, right? And I would stare and I would stare and I would stare, and that would get me through. And then ultimately I had a couple bucks in my pocket. So I was able to get back into the gym. See, the iron never lies, right? It's always there since I've been 17 years old and to this day. I mean, I'm not fucking Mr. America, but it's good therapy, right?
Yeah, no.
But what I found, brother, was it wasn't about, for the first time in my life, about going in and getting shredded and in super good shape. See, every time I'd done that, I'd put steroids in my body, right? I would take steroids and I would get big and I would get strong and I would get lean and I would get ripped. I needed to slow down enough to work on myself every day so that I didn't die early. That's what the fourth F in my program means. Okay. So I'll just repeat that real quick. And I know I'm kind of going through a lot here. Faith,
No, I love it.
believe,
This is
I had to
great.
believe in myself like nobody else because nobody else did. Nobody did. And maybe someone out there, right? They need to hear that. You need to believe in you. Second was I needed money. I don't care what the fuck anybody says. You cannot pay your bills. You cannot keep a roof over your head with hope. It just doesn't work. You've got to take action. I needed to work. I needed to make money. And I needed to focus on my why, which was my son. And I know somebody out there listening to this today needs to look at that. Their son, their daughter, their loved one, they need to focus on their why. Then I needed to work on myself, my body, my mind, my being, my soul. I needed to read books. I needed to lift weights. I needed to stretch. I needed to do all these crazy things. But here's the thing. I'd done that before, right? Maybe not the belief pattern, but I'd had kind of that process. It's very easy for a man to do that thing. That makes sense. But what happened was I was presented with this question. Why are you really doing this? Like, what are you really building? So I'd look around as I get on Facebook or Instagram and I'd see all my friends partying on the weekend and having a fun time. And here I am sitting in a room isolated by myself in a fucking journal, which I still keep next to me every day, writing. Why am I doing this? What is the purpose of this? And I created a future. And this was the key. And it's one of the biggest keys for the program that I created was I needed something that I could touch, that I could feel, that I could taste, that I could smell, that was pulling me out on the times that I was feeling lonely. Instead of the thoughts pushing you into the bar, pushing you into the drink, pushing you into the drugs, I needed something pulling me out. The only thing that could pull me out was the future. And I know that kind of fucks up being present a little bit, but as you get more self-developed, it's easy to figure out how to do both, right? I've done a great job at that. And so do the people in my program. But what it is was the future needed to be so strong that I felt like nothing could come crashing down. There was days I would write my goals or I'd create this thing. And I'm not just talking about doing a Pinterest board. I'm talking about really being able to attach emotion and conviction and purpose. You're on this call right now because that was my future, right? You were looking for me. I was looking for you long before you. I was looking for this outlet, right?
Yeah.
This has been in my future. Now here's the next thing. Once I realized what I was doing, I couldn't come up with this answer to this question. Why am I so fucking angry? Right? So the sixth F is freedom. What I find is it's a 3-stage process. So if any of your listeners are actually getting this or comprehending it or like what it is, this is the spot to start to find out why you're doing what you're doing. I'll explain the 3 stages of freedom. The first stage is the surface level shit that you go through. Alcohol, overeating, drugs, pornography, right? Something that it's like an external thing that you're doing. Those are what we think are the problems, right? That we hide. But the truth is, those are never the problem. Those are the solutions to the problem. So for me, I was fucking angry. Alcohol helped me hide from the anger or deal with the anger or intensify the anger because I realized that intensifying the anger actually served me at some point, right? It made me tough. It made me wide. Like it made me be this loud present force that sometimes was just a fucking idiot, but it could either serve me or not serve me. So the first stage of freedom for anybody out there listening is, what is it you think you need to let go of and look at what is the problem that actually really isn't the problem? It's the one you've created. Okay. The second step one for me was figuring out why I was doing what I was doing. Why was I so angry? So it was the shame, it was the guilt. For me, it boiled down to the fact I could still see today very clearly, even as I'm saying this, my father and my brother leaving without me, right? At a young age. And there was a way more stuff that went down, but that one moment pissed me off inside where I said, you know what? Nobody's ever going to hurt me again. And anger was my reflex, right? Like that was my go-to. That's what, boom, I'm going to be angry. So second stage of freedom is actually people diving deep into why they're doing what they're doing. And then the third one is having the freedom to create the life that you want, right? Financial freedom, freedom in your health, freedom in your, whatever it is that you want. Like, I don't know what you want. I don't know what the listeners want, but I know what I want. I want love. I want happiness. I want joy. At the end of the day, when I'm done with this, I'm going to shut this thing off, right? I'm going to let the comeback grow. I'm not going to shut the company down, but Mark is going to disappear. I've got a 29-year-old wife who I love and adore. I'm going to go chase her around a beach somewhere because we're super free, naked, having whatever fucking great time we want to do. That's the freedom that I'm after, right? And I live in America and I can fucking do that somewhere. The seventh F is foundation. Basically what this was, and this makes sense to you, and I'll give you back the mic. When I saw those other 6 Fs, right? I needed to hit and figure out how to work each one on a daily basis. I needed quantifiable results. Sitting around and raising my hand and saying and waiting that my name is Mark and I'm an alcoholic and my life is not working did not resonate with me. What I needed to see was just like the same way that I created a business, just like the same way I did sales, just like the same way you probably messaged me a bunch of time. You had a process to it. I needed to see something working in front of me. So the foundation F was like, okay, if I can track, stack, and measure, win these things, damn, I dominated my day today. Very, very simple. right? When you look at it, when I break it down like that, that was it. There's a ton of tools that I teach in the program. That process right there for me has went on to liberate thousands and thousands of men and now women as well, and put me right here on your show. So I'll give you back the mic.
What an incredible story. I'm always looking for ways to help people in suffering, right? And all the F's that you just talked about, it is so interesting how our programs tie in together. You know, we've run stories where people hit rock bottom and faith was what brought them out, right? They found God and they said, okay, I'm changing my life. This is what I'm going to do. The thing I loved about your program when I looked through it is that you incorporate all of them. And I do believe it's a big approach. And here's the thing, I've never really suffered from any addiction. But I love people so much and I want to end suffering so much that these are why I run these stories. I want to tell you a really heartfelt story. Producer Chad and I sat down with an interview. Again, I've done a little over 14,000 interviews in 25 years, and I love everyone's story. We interviewed the wife. As a husband and wife, both had alcohol issue problems, and she was 100 days sober when we did the interview. And 2 weeks ago, her husband passed away. What if he'd have went to your program? This guy might be walking around today with a whole completely different attitude, a completely different mindset. And I know not everybody is into that. I know not everybody can handle the level of energy that you have. But here's my question. Why wouldn't you try it? Does that make sense?
Why wouldn't he try it?
Yeah. Why wouldn't anyone try it? Why wouldn't anyone try the program?
Well, I mean, I know clearly I'm not for everybody, right? They make fun of my hair. They make fun of the way I look. They fucking muscle. I get it, right? But at the end of the day, if that makes them feel better and maybe that helped them a little bit, cool, is what it is. Let me just tell you some shit, how that same story impacted my life, okay? Or something similar impacted my life. My wife, which I mentioned, Kendra, she's 29 years old. We got married 2 years ago, coming up on August 22nd. It'll be 2 years, right? About 3 weeks before we got married, her dad died. Drank himself, had a heart attack. He had drank and drank and drank. We backed that up about a year and a half before that. Kendra's brother, her younger brother, died in a car accident. Mm. Okay, both drinking related.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's the thing. I talk with my mother-in-law often about it, and we ask, she tells me, she says, I know you could have got to my son, right? I know you could have got to him, and because he would have resonated with you, because the dude was an MMA fighter. He fought front line in the army. Like, he's a badass kid, right? A shredded dude. And she's like, I know you could have got to him, but I don't know that you could have got to my husband. And I agree with her, because that's my job to let her think what she thinks. I'm not here to change her mind, but I know that if I had the opportunity, I also know that I was getting to him. He would go and he would sit at the bar, and as I was dating his daughter and knowing that he was going to get, like, I was going to be his son-in-law, and knowing that his daughter was going to be taken care of, and I loved her and I love her the way that I do. And he would listen to my videos. He would listen to my podcast. He would listen to my interviews. Him and his buddies would drink beer and pay attention to what I was doing, but he wasn't hearing it, right? They would listen, but he wasn't hearing it. And the same thing. So what you just said right there is, had I had an opportunity to say, wait the fuck, and he was successful, built a successful business, beautiful wife, beautiful kids, everything, like, great life going on. And he fucking died because, in my opinion, there was no other way for him. I think my way could have worked, right? Even though my mother-in-law says no. She might get mad if she listens to this, but I think it could have worked, right? I really do. I just need the opportunity. So why wouldn't he have listened, or why wouldn't anybody listen? It's because I can't get this fucking message out fast enough or loud enough. And because you've got to be ready today, right? You've got to know that you said you want to end suffering. Like, dude, so many people suffer in silence every day because they don't have an outlet. They don't know what to do. I'm not shaming. I'll never say that AA is the wrong way, or NA or something. I think we all want the same result, which is to help people. But I think that there has to be different information, different ways to absorb it, different ways to get it into them, especially with, like, technology and the way things are changing. Like, there's no cookie cutter approach to getting a job done. There's not one way to do a podcast, right? If it was, the shit would be boring. So my point is, I think why people don't get the opportunity, or why they don't listen, is because, and I feel shitty about this. Honestly, at the end of the day, a lot of times when I lay down and put my head on the pillow, I don't feel like I'm making an impact, because the size of this hole is so massive.
But here's one thing I want to ask you. In all your experiences, I first of all want to ask you about, there's got to be one story that touches you a little bit more than another. But then I want to ask you this, and just give me your opinion on this. To beat this thing, is there something in your life that has to be bigger than the alcohol?
Yeah, we'll answer that one first. You got to be bigger than the alcohol. That something has to be you. However, right, and that's not some new. I'm not a fucking rocket scientist. Like, we've heard that before. It's got to be for you. You got to do it. It's got to be for you. But here's the thing. IAMACOMEBACK wasn't for me at first. Go back to what I said. I'd lost my son. My life wasn't working. So here's what has to happen. There has to be a spark or a catalyst. Because when you're down in the dumps, the last thing you like, maybe you right now today, if I asked you, Mitch, out of all the things you love in your life, where you're at on the list, maybe you're pretty close to the top. You should be number one. Right? If you ask me right now, I'm at number one, because if I don't take care of me and I don't love me, then I can't take care. I wouldn't be doing the show. I wouldn't be taking care of my wife. I wouldn't be taking care of my kids. Right? I got 3 kids now. And like, think there's so much pressure in having to get yourself to believe that it's got to be for you, that it actually turns them away. Because when you look in the mirror, you fucking hate the man looking back at you. Right? Doesn't matter if it's drugs. Could be food too, right? You're looking back. Right. You don't like the way you look. You're obese. You're overweight. You're fucking angry. Why did I eat the 3 pieces of cheesecake last night? Right?
Yeah.
Got done, by the way, before. And my point is, it's hard to do it for you, but it's got to ultimately be for you. You've got to find something. At least with me, the key was, wait a minute. The wake-up call was, my son was taken from me. He deserves better. I don't want him to be a piece of shit. Now, I could go on, and I only gave you I gave you the PG version of my life. Right? Very, very PG version of my life. But that kid meant so much to me at that moment that I had to lose him. And I almost think like God or the universe, whatever it is, had to take him away from me to wake me the fuck up. And I wouldn't even say that I'm at rock bottom. If we back up years ago, I felt one of my best friends, the first day I did heroin, died. Right? I was breathing breath back into his life, and the fucking cops were trying to pin a murder on me. They were trying to get me for things I didn't even do. Right? It was a rough time. You would think that rock bottom I would have hit it a bunch of times, but I know that there's only one rock bottom for me, and that was death. Like, I would have to fucking die for me to be at rock bottom.
Yeah.
Back to answer the question. I know I get off on these tangents.
No, I love it.
You have to have something, but that something ultimately has to end up being you. But it's okay to allow yourself, even if it takes 3 minutes, 3 weeks, or 3 years, to allow yourself the time and the space to create the power within yourself to go back to that first F, which is believing in the faith, and believing in yourself and something you can't see. And that takes time. But my offer, or my ask for your listeners or people that come into my program, is you at least allow yourself to take the chance and make the choice that you are worth it. Right? So many people go through their day and say, man, it's too hard. I can't do this. My wife hates me. I cheated. I'm a drunk. Right? All this negative narrative shit that goes on in our life. But who you are today is not who you were yesterday, and who you're becoming tomorrow is not going to be who you end up being when you go to your grave. Right? As long as you keep making a choice to breathe and live and win and make good choices.
So I hope today that people heard your story and they can totally resonate with you. It is something that I believe that there's a big sector of people that if you want to beat this problem, it's going to take a guy like you, all up in your shit. And it would for me anyway, right? But I will say this. The part I love about the program is you encompass everything that I believe also helps in the human condition of suffering too, which is your fitness, your faith, your family, all the different F's that you completely just described in your program, and that freedom and all this stuff. That's why I run these on my shows, to find people to have another option out. And with this addiction story, I knew I had to get you on this show. I believe in a lot of stuff that you're doing. I love your passion for it. And I love you're just kind of a no bullshit guy. Like, here it is. I'm all open. Take it or leave it. I even dig the haircut, although that's not going to work when you're 50, dude. People are going to be like, you can't do that now. But I thoroughly enjoyed you coming on the show. But let's do this. Let's not end this podcast until we let everybody know exactly how they can get a hold of you and everything else that you've done, including the book, everything.
Sure. Well, here's how you can't get a hold of me. Send me some negative messages on my DM talking shit to me. Right? I just block. That's how you can't get. That's the quickest way to get blocked and out of my fucking world. Right? I do not have time for that. I want to say one thing before we get into that, bro. It's hard to say that self-selected suffering is a disease. Okay. So think about what I said, self-selected suffering, whether that's drinking, whether that is whatever it is, you're choosing to do that on a daily basis. If you stop and just remove for a second, I understand there's some psychological shit and some people struggle worse than others, right? So for some, their truth is maybe they do have a disease and they went into cirrhosis of the liver or something like that. However, if you know that you're sick and you continue to make yourself sick, it's a fucking choice. I don't care. It's just a choice. It straight up is. The greatest gift, the greatest power that we possess, the ability to choose every single day. Like everything in your life is a choice. Should I come on this show? Should I wear that shirt? Should I do my hair? Should I wear a hat? Should I drink a water? Should I drink a beer? Everything is a fucking choice. And if you can't control your choices, you can't control yourself. So I think to take the easy way out, the negative victim mindset mentality that what's happened to me, no, man, everything happened for you. What do you want to do with it? And that's my message really for the people out there. So, man, it's been interesting. And we get to talk about that. I was going to make a list of all the things that I've done in the past 6 years. I've written 2 books, created an app, created multiple different programs, built an 8-figure business, back up again from nothing, got married, have now 2 daughters and my son, and my life is amazing. It all started because of today, 6 years ago, I decided to take my life back. So if you have any interest or desire or want or need somebody that, or know somebody that wants some help with this, you can just go to IAMACOMEBACK.com. I'll be honest with you, my whole website is we're not set up to give you a bunch of information. I do things different than everybody else out there. I'm not here to feed you a bunch of bullshit. Watch me on YouTube, read the book, get it on Amazon. It's not a disease, it's a choice. The other one is How I Kicked Alcohol's Ass After Alcohol Kicked My Ass First, right? So that one's just coming out right now. But literally, man, if you're looking for something, Mark Jennison Jr. on Facebook, I'm a comeback. We're all over the place, man. So pretty easy to find us.
Well, thanks for thanks for not reporting me to anybody, because I hit you like 35 times before you finally agreed to come on the show. But I hope you had a good time, man. I resonate with you. I think you're doing great work. I think you're saving lives. That's what we're about with True Talks, is exposing people like yourself so that somebody can make a better choice, make a better decision, and God be with you, man. It's an awesome journey that you're on, and I hope you end up becoming a trillionaire with this, because that means a whole lot of people were saved.
I appreciate that. I probably will become a billionaire, but it won't be with just this. It'll be from hard work, diversifying portfolios, building different businesses, right? That's what I'm doing for me, separate from I'm a Comeback. At the end of the day, all I want to do is fucking leave an immortal message. I want there to be a Wikipedia page about I'm a Comeback and that I started this thing, and for years and years and years, fucking life will be changed. So thank you for allowing me to share my voice on your platform. I'm not stopping. I'm too dumb to quit.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for coming on our show again. Let's stay in touch. And again, we're gonna try and promote you, push this. One life is good enough for us here at Truth Talks. So thank you again for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you, man. Take care of
yourself.
yourself.
All right, brother.